What if the most famous disaster in history didn't start with a crash, but with a drift? Not the drift of a ship, but a drift of the mind. A collective decision to believe a comforting lie, right up until the moment the truth came flooding in. This is the real story of the Titanic. We have this image, a glamorous ship, an iceberg, a tragic crash. But that's not how it felt to be there. For the people on board that freezing April night, it began with a gentle vibration, a long, quiet shudder that traveled through the floor. If you were dancing in the grand ballroom, you might have just thought you stumbled. If you were in your luxurious cabin, you might have rolled over and gone back to sleep. The human mind is brilliant at explaining away the first signs of disaster. Because they'd been told this ship was unsinkable, it was more than marketing. It was a feeling. It was in the thickness of the carpets, the sparkle of the chandeliers, the sound of the orchestra. How could anything bad happen here? So when stewards calmly said, "Please put on your life belts as a precaution," people laughed. They stayed in their rooms. They saw the deck tilting ever so slightly and thought it was an optical illusion. This was the first tragedy, not the iceberg, but the inability to believe. Reality arrives slowly, then all at once. The tilt in the floor became a slope you could slide on. The laughter died. You could see your breath in the air. The orchestra, famously, started playing hymns. And in those final, crystal-clear moments, you saw the drift of every human spirit. Some scrambled. Some prayed. Some helped strangers into lifeboats and then quietly stepped back. Husbands kissed wives goodbye. Engineers stayed behind to keep the lights on so others might see their way to safety. And then the ship did the unthinkable. It broke in two. The lights went out, and in the silence that followed, over 1,500 people were plunged into water so cold it felt like fire. The screams didn't last long. But here's why we're still talking about it over a century later. The Titanic isn't just a shipwreck. It's the ultimate metaphor for our own minds. We all build unsinkable ships in our lives, our careers, our relationships, our plans. We ignore the quiet shudders, the small tilts, the first chill. We believe our own marketing until we can't. The Titanic's real wreck isn't at the bottom of the ocean. It's in that dangerous human space between what we choose to believe and what is actually true. So the next time you feel a gentle shudder in your own life, a drift in your gut telling you something is wrong, maybe don't roll over and go back to sleep. Listen to it, because the deepest water isn't out there in the ocean. It's the sea of denial we can all drown in.